All right, college football fans, we got our feet wet yesterday. First two games of college football, Hawaii taking on Arizona. Hawaii winning that game in a shootout 45-38. Also, the big one, the one that we've been talking about most of the summer, came to, a lackluster game at best. Florida defeating Miami 24-20, a game riddled with turnovers, penalties, missed tackles. My God, the missed tackles were absolutely terrible on both sides of the football. Definitely not your classic Power 5 ACC versus SEC matchup. However, both teams have a little time to improve as they have next week off and then on to the rest of their seasons. We won't break that down too much on this particular show today. Kennard Vernon Stewart here on the podcast talking about Auburn football like it's nobody's business. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and comment your comments. All right. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. And on this channel, it's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. About 6 days away from Arlington, Texas, hosting the Advocare Classic, which will take place between Auburn and Oregon. Arguably one of the more highly anticipated week 1 matchups, and for good reason. Auburn comes into this game ranked as the ranked as the 16th ranked team in the country. Oregon, likewise, on the other hand, ranked at number 11. I think these are safe rankings for both of these two teams who come back with a wealth of experience on both sides of the football field. We'll go into deeper analysis about the Auburn level of experience on another video. But what I wanted to talk about today as we start to continue to preview and get more closer to the game is a particular position on Auburn's football field that I'm really intrigued by. And the reason why I'm so intrigued by this is because I'm very, very anxious to see how the cornerbacks perform against Oregon. You're talking about Justin Herbert for the Oregon Ducks, who will come into this season very highly touted, obviously came back for his senior year. Oregon's quarterback, a dark horse Heisman Trophy candidate. And when he has time to throw the football, he literally pierces secondaries. One good thing about Justin Herbert, he has a very, very seemingly good offensive line. He didn't give up a lot of sacks last year. They protected him very well. Very seldom did you see him really uneasy in the pocket. And in one game in particular, what made me think about this is I know Kevin Steele will not approach Oregon this way, but not only in the Oregon and Stanford game from last year, not only could Stanford not get any pressure on Justin Herbert, but their coverages were very, very soft. They didn't do a lot of man. They played a lot of zone, and Justin Herbert literally just, picked them apart. So I'm looking at the Auburn secondary. I'm looking at what appears to be a much improved Noah Igbinoghene. We're going to talk about Noah first. Now, in arguably one of the best position changes maybe in recent history for Auburn, Auburn moves Noah Igbinoghene from a reserve role, utility role on the offense at receiver, slot. Really couldn't find a spot for him on the offense. Switched him over to cornerback. Easily one of the best moves in recent history, position change-wise, for the Auburn Tigers. Noah Igbinoghene, very aggressive, very athletic, and had some keen instincts for the position. One play in particular that was great was his game-saving, maybe Gus Malzahn career-saving interception against Texas A&M. The skill set is definitely there. Under Wesley McGriff, the secondary coach for the Auburn Tigers, we remembered the secondary playing very, very fundamentally sound. They tackle well and they cover well. I'm really excited to see if that has translated over to Noah Igbinoghene, because he is the guy. Out of all the guys on this particular defense, especially with his inexperience in the position, really, really has to step up because he's playing the field cornerback position. That's the cornerback that covers the widest range as far as cornerbacks go. And he's going to have to be very, very protective as to how he approaches the game fundamentally. Most of it, he never got burnt. He never got grossly beat. But his only issue was at the point of attack. He didn't trust himself. A lot of times he would grab behind the receiver. He would, just be too aggressive at the point of ball contact with the receiver. And that's something that if Noah Igbinoghene has fixed that over the offseason, there's no reason why he couldn't be set up, especially with the athletic and talent ability that he has, to be an all-SEC, maybe even a long shot at an all-American cornerback. He definitely has the tools. He definitely has the attitude that a cornerback is supposed to, because you got to have some moxie when you're playing that cornerback position, especially in Power 5 football. You're talking about going to Arlington, Texas, facing what could be the best team in the Pac-12. The Pac-12 got a couple of, few good teams in that conference. You're talking about Utah, maybe Stanford, Oregon, Washington, of course, Washington State. So it's going to be a very, very competitive conference this year, and Oregon really wants to get off to a good start to have some level of redemption, because I think Oregon left some games on the table last year, especially the one, I watched actually a couple of times. The one against Stanford, I mean, you talk about literally giving a football game away. Definitely what you saw against Stanford. And then the struggles on the road, 44-15 loss to Arizona, 32-25 loss to Utah in a game where they were winning late. Also, unusual 34-20 loss to Washington State, who actually had a pretty good season last year for the Cougars. Matter of fact, the Cougars actually used to play Auburn. One of the Pac-12 teams that played Auburn somewhat, not necessarily regularly, but was a couple of times in the last few years on Auburn's schedule. Strangely enough, Auburn never made the trip up to Washington State. But either way, Noah Igbinoghene's play is going to be huge in this particular game, and I guarantee you, Justin Herbert and his receiver core, now they are facing some injuries right now, but we still can't discount the talent level on this Oregon football team. They make the comparisons to the SEC, Mario Cristobal bringing the SEC West out to Oregon and all of this other stuff. And size-wise, and he's recruiting heavily in the south part of the United States, where he used to coach as a offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama. Also, he's doing a very good job of recruiting down in Los Angeles, which is a recruiting hotbed on the West Coast. So you can expect to see, don't let this whole, they have, no starting wide receivers will play in the Advocare Classic. Don't be blinded by that. That's rat poison. Get in there and play the football game as if everybody's going to be present. Because I noticed the fan base really looking at this thing like, okay, well, we got the upper hand now. And there is some advantages to playing against a team that will be kind of sort of shorthanded, especially at a key position at wide receiver, where the Oregon Ducks struggled last year with missed balls. I mean, when they added up the stats, I mean, it added up to something staggering between, 800-900 yards worth of missed opportunities, yardage wise, which could have really pushed Justin Herbert up a few notches in the Heisman race. All right. So this secondary position, not necessarily concerned, but very anxious. I think also, too, you have Javaris Davis, number 13. You have him in his rightful position. He is not at all a nickel back. He is a boundary cornerback. You need to compartmentalize his speed to where he can control his speed, because at the nickel back, he's so fast he couldn't control his speed. He caught himself constantly out of position. If you think about the play against LSU, where LSU broke that long one, out of position. No, if Javaris Davis is in position, then Deshaun Davis wouldn't have had to be the one to try to make a play on that ball. That is a nickel back. That is a play that the nickel back needs to make. And because the nickel back was out of position, terrible angles were taken. And next thing you know, LSU coast to an easy touchdown and back in a game, winding up winning a game that they really, really shouldn't have. Another area that we really got to talk about, guys, that really hurt Auburn, especially in the secondary, were the pass interference penalties, and mostly just really, really fundamentals and experience. And a lot of times when you haven't played a position, say like Noah Igbinoghene hadn't played the cornerback position, so you have that unsurety, you have that doubt, and you have that, man, let me grab this jersey so I won't give up a big play. Especially there were times when he was right in position to make the play. But this year, I feel like Noah Igbinoghene trusts himself a little bit more, especially having a whole year of experience, a whole year of film study, Wesley McGriff's coaching. I think Noah Igbinoghene, again, is going to be set up for success in this position. Also, another guy that I'm really excited about, and I'm talking mostly about the interior portion of the secondary, Christian Tutt. This guy can play any position in the secondary. He can play boundary. He can play field cornerback. I think he's most effective either on the boundary or in the nickel. Very, very athletic guy. He's definitely going to help out with range and control in that interior portion of the secondary. He's shown some very good promise as a pass rusher on Kevin Steele's blitz packages. So coming into this Oregon game, the Auburn defense is going to have to play very, very aggressively. They can't depend totally on the defensive line to create pressure, because I think Oregon's offensive line is very talented, and it's going to be a situation where I don't think Auburn's defensive line is just going to absolutely dominate the Oregon offensive line. I think it's going to be a very, very nice matchup. So it's going to come down to very, very good coverage in the secondary to create maybe some coverage sacks, to create some coverage disruption. Definitely going to have to do some bump and run. You can't just let these receivers run rampant in the secondary like Stanford did and some other teams did in the Pac-12. It's going to be a very interesting portion to see the approach secondary-wise for the Auburn Tigers as they get ready to take on the Oregon Ducks. Now, this is just the first part of just a plethora of coverage that we're going to have concerning this ball game. I just had a thought, I was just like, man, we really want to see the improvements of Noah Igbinoghene. I think that is one of the key factors. We've talked about the defensive line and linebackers ad nauseum, but the name of the game, the name of the guy that's going to play a key role, and I'm calling it now, Noah Igbinoghene is going to have to play a very, very good football game in order for Auburn to have success in this particular game, Auburn versus Oregon Advocare Classic. We're definitely excited. Week 0 is over. We're going into week 1. Auburn and Oregon is definitely the primetime game, ABC 6:30, 7:30 Eastern time. I want to say 4:30 Pacific. Sorry, guys, for not doing my homework on that. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for a quick podcast talking a little bit about Auburn football and Noah Igbinoghene and the Auburn secondary. As always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. Go ahead and comment, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, a dislike, and as always, War Eagle.